Hello everyone! Happy Volunteer Appreciation Week. Each year, we like to come together during this week to express our gratitude for the hours of dedication, hard work, and inspiring service you share with the Orlando Science Center. Though things admittedly seem a little strange right now and we don't have the opportunity to work side by side at the moment, we know just how important you are to our mission to inspire science learning for life. Every day, Orlando Science Center volunteers make a connection with someone which will last a lifetime, whether they're explaining Newton's laws in Kinetic Zone, performing a science-based magic trick for an audience, or helping out behind the scenes. You are the driving force behind how we engage with our communities. On staff, we have the privilege of witnessing thousands upon thousands of individual connections between people each year, and your dedication to these connections is inspirational, and it also shows in the data. So I hope you'll join me as we take a tour through some of the data we collect each year and explain why it's important to our organization. Over the past 3 years, Orlando Science Center volunteers have donated more than 155,000 hours to the organization. We're very lucky to be using software that allows us to drill down into that data and get better looks at who is giving their time, how much time they give, and how it all relates to other pieces of information. I have to say, thank you so much for being so consistent when signing in and out of VicNet in the volunteer hallway. That's where all of this data comes from. When we pull apart that 3-year chunk of service data, we see that our numbers have been fairly consistent between each year. There was a jump in hours between 2017-2018 and 2018-2019. This is most likely due to the Education Department requesting a 10% increase in youth volunteers for summer camp that year. Alright, let's look at just the last 12 months. From April 2019 through today, we've had 2,075 individuals volunteer at Orlando Science Center. As you can see, there are a lot of event volunteers. These are typically corporate volunteers who assist at events like Science Night Live and other fundraisers, but they are also community members who do one-off volunteer opportunities at Otronicon and similar events. Over 1,400 individual people volunteered at a Science Center event since April 2019. The next largest group is our Catalyst Youth Volunteers, with 448 individuals serving last year. These amazing people help in a variety of teams, ranging from facilitating exhibit halls, doing science demonstrations, and developing content and nature works. We've had 112 adult volunteers helping on a multitude of tasks as well. Our adult volunteers bring their own backgrounds, their own experiences, and their own perspectives to front of house tasks and back of house work. And the final group is our collegiate interns. 41 interns were placed within various departments this last year, ranging from marketing to development to early childhood education and many more areas. These 2,000 plus volunteers donated a total of 58,084 hours within the last 12 months. That's 2,420 days worth of service. In that amount of time, you could read Darwin's On the Origin of Species 4,323 times if you read at an average of 250 words per minute. Or, since it takes about 2 minutes to walk from the Science Center Skybridge to the Volunteer Lounge, you could do it over 1.7 million times if you had 58,084 hours available. When we break down where these hours come from, we start seeing some trends. Though event volunteers have the most individual people, they give the least amount of time proportionately. Event volunteers gave a little over 5,000 hours last year. Collegiate interns gave almost 7,000 hours, adult volunteers gave almost 8,000 hours, and Catalyst youth volunteers make up the largest chunk, giving 38,000 hours over the past 12 months. A useful metric the Volunteer Resources Department uses to report our data is average length of service per volunteer. This chart shows how many hours of service someone from each category typically did in the last year, again, on average. Event volunteers average out to the least number of hours per volunteer, because event shifts are typically about 4 hours in length. Luckily, the yearly data backs this up and shows that our event volunteers are consistent. Collegiate interns typically rack up the most hours on average each year, as their classes often require a specific number of service hours for them to complete. Looking at average hours is a good way to do a quick check-in on our programs, But it can also be interesting to dive even further and look at how individual volunteers fit into the context of all of their colleagues. This graphic represents our Catalyst Youth Volunteer Program. Each block represents one person who volunteered within the past 12 months. The size of their block represents how many hours they served in relation to all the other individuals. So a bigger block means that individual served more hours than a smaller block. As you can see, the block sizes are fairly consistent and gradually taper off from big to small. This means that the share of service hours for Catalyst Youth volunteers is pretty spread out. If we look at the Adult Volunteer Program, things look a little bit different. Immediately, we can see that there is more disparity in block sizes. There are far more smaller blocks than bigger blocks, which means the majority of adult volunteers are doing fewer hours than a small minority that gives a lot of their time. In fact, only 18 individual volunteers were responsible for serving more than 56% of all combined adult volunteer hours last year. While data is interesting and it helps us define goals and gives us some concrete perspectives to the service our volunteers provide, data struggles to truly get to the heart of what our volunteers do. Data has a hard time defining the joy on someone's face when a volunteer helps them create something. Data can't account for the memories of a volunteer helping someone learn something new. Data doesn't always show the benefit of systems developed or admin work completed by volunteers behind the scenes. And it certainly doesn't evoke the delight we get working with a wonderful team every single day. Data can put our work into perspective, but it can't fully explain the impact our volunteers have on our community. Your commitment as a volunteer is making our world better able to tackle problems by thinking creatively and collaboratively, and helping us move toward a more equitable future by striving for growth. Thank you for being an integral part of our mission to inspire science learning for life. We miss you, and we can't wait to see you again.